Yeah, buddy. What is happening, Rebel Nation? Andy McCabe here, your restoration rebel leader. Could be a quiet one today. Maybe. We'll see. I got something on my mind I can talk about. But first, let's do the agreements. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services. I will never provide free services, as these only serve to erode the value of similar services industry-wide. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. I will explain the claims process in detail to my clients. I will not hide pricing details or manipulate reports. I will not communicate with a third party without also communicating with my client. Number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community. I will be an active member of my community. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. And number 4, I'm willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth losing money, sleep, or my humanity. Humanity. Well, I just learned that I guess Queen Elizabeth died. Speaking of humanity, longest reigning monarch in British history. So Prince Charles has been sitting there being prince for his whole life. He's going to be king now. What does that even mean? I don't know. What does that even mean? Being king of Britain, king of England at this point in our history when they have parliament and all that jazz. Does it mean anything? I don't know. No idea. Oh, right. Ilaran. I never know if I'm getting your name correct, but welcome to the Restoration Rebel Roundtable. Joe was here briefly, and now he's gone. Let me double check to see I got my speaker settings correct. Looks like it. Okay, that's good.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, man. Well, I want to talk about overhead and profit.
That's an interesting
on
topic.
mitigation, and we can touch on roofing. So I've got several open appraisal files on my desk. A couple of them have the mitigation portion. Actually, all 3 that I'm thinking of have mitigation as in the appraisal. We got to come up with the values of that. And my opposing appraiser on all 3 it's the exact same opposing appraiser, is of the opinion that overhead and profit is not owed on mitigation. And I sat down today and started writing. I'm going to write another chapter of my book. That book is called Your Insurance Company Hates You. And I'm going to write that one of these chapters is going to be what is a reasonable profit? Because I got into it with my opposing appraiser guy yesterday on the phone a little bit, and he said, he gave the age-old line of there's plenty of money in it, there's plenty of profit in it, and he also gave the age-old line of there's plenty of guys out there not marking up mitigation, and they're making plenty of money. So I'm going to lay that out there. Joe and Ilaran, say your name one more time.
Eliran, but you can call me Eli. I should change it.
Eli.
Yeah.
Eliran.
Eliran.
I like
Let's
it.
do that.
All right, Eli. Why don't you go first? What's your take on? Well, first off, how long have you been doing mitigation activities in this restoration world?
So I just started about 6 months ago. Basically.
And you came from, remind me where you came from.
The field I came from was engineering.
Yeah, your background, yeah.
Mechanical engineering, aviation, development of drones, basically managing projects. That's my background for the 7 years before.
Why restoration? You were doing cool shit, man. What is?
Yeah, but it's a very long story because I did it back there in Israel. So I came specially to the US to start a business. So it's going to take our entire time. So
yeah, it's going to take some time. You'll get up to speed. Okay, so
the need to open a business.
Talk to me about markup. Talk to me about contractor markup, especially when it pertains to emergency services. What's your take?
So I don't have a specified take. I have an opinion, and I'm not sure like what is my opinion on it. So basically, I think we should. I mean, eventually, I'm at the moment using Xactimate as like a reference to know where to live, because it's just easier. Because instead of starting calculating each and every line item to understand exactly what are my costs and everything, I'm using it because it's just easier to create the I don't like to call it an estimate, just an itemized list or an Xactimate report that I'm attaching to my invoice, and I'm using it. And sometimes I am trying to put overhead and profit mostly on bid items if I'm using subcontractors for let's say asbestos, for example.
Okay.
And about the other item lines in mitigation, I'm not sure how I need to look at it, but for sure I am thinking I need in some phase to get to the phase where I need to analyze and understand how much am I making off each item line, and how much should I price it, because eventually I need to have enough profit to upscale the business, to buy more machinery, to bring in good people. If I won't have good margins, I won't be able to hire the people that I want with the same values and moral and work ethics that I'm looking for. So it needs to be very profitable. And
so talk to me about the margins that you're running the numbers. You're running an experiment. This is your first year. We get that it's all subject to change, but right now, where do you feel your margins are sitting?
So right now, I think they're pretty good. I don't have enough data to give you a numerical number, but I will say that, I don't know, it's just because I started, but there is not enough flow yet to have data. And because I'm a one-man show at the moment, it's hard to look on real numbers of a full size company with employees.
So as far as you figure, you're breaking even so far. You're not really making a profit because you don't have enough volume to
it depends. If I'm looking on the operational profit for each job, then the profit is good. But if you take down all the
your overhead,
I forgot the name in English, all the overhead and profit, then if I take down all the expenses that I have right now, then yes, I'm somewhere between break even to losing. But it's not like the situation that needs to be done. That's supposed to be. So on a job basis, it's profitable. But if I'm looking at the entire expenses, it's just because that there isn't enough job, there isn't enough profit, and this is why it's like a catch-22 of cycling out of it to have enough money to grow the company in order to create more profit. So it's basically just trying to create more jobs at the moment.
All right, we're gonna get a little off. We're gonna get a little off topic a little bit because we've actually got people in the Facebook group commenting for a change. So Eugene Hicks has a question for you, Eli. He says, how are you generating leads being in business for 6 months, and how are things going? That's a great question. Thanks, Eugene.
Okay. So basically, at the beginning, I tried Yelp. It didn't work out. I tried another company that 33-mile radius wasn't available. So I tried another company. It didn't work out.
What part of the country are you in now?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a very, very competitive market.
Yeah.
And being new in the US, I don't know many people yet.
Okay. Yeah.
So I tried Yelp. I tried this company. It didn't work out. I tried partnering with some people in order to buy jobs or share profits. But they want a bigger, too much of a big chunk, and also to be the one who have the brand and the and fill in the pipe, and I will just perform the job. So I didn't like that, so
Okay.
I gave up. I gave up on those channels,
Sure.
and I realized that I'm going to develop mostly two channels, networking with plumbers, roofers, HVAC. So I'm working real hard on that. And on the other end, I build on my own because I'm trying to stay lean as I can. I built my website. I started running my campaigns on Google. Did a Google guarantee. What else? Facebook, but I'm not putting too much effort on it.
Sure.
And basically, I'm right now. I managed, or I'm probably gonna be able to enlist myself into 33-mile radius to generate leads. And all the rest of the leads that I didn't have much got from friends that I know from the community, the Israeli community here in Houston, and friends that are they're generating leads for other industries, but sometimes when they get leads for the water damage, then they call me. But it didn't happen too much. So basically, right now is Google PPC and networking, which it takes more time. To build trust with people and start getting referrals. So those are my main two channels. I'm gonna go into the Facebook to also see what they write here because I didn't saw
PPC, Google pay-per-click. What was your experience with Google Guarantee?
Google Guarantee, I got nothing from there, but it may be because I don't have enough reviews. I have like 9, so it might. So I'm not showing up too good, and I didn't work too much on the SEO.
Okay.
Just a second.
Okay.
And yeah, I want to go into the Facebook to see the comments and if they have any more questions.
To change, but
okay, now I see.
Yeah, mute that one. Yeah, so we don't. Perfect. So Google Guarantee. I've heard good things about Google Guarantee, but
I got one call at the beginning, and it apparently for some reason Google Guarantee decided to also add to my services carpentry. So, and I need to just give them a call and say, hey, take it off. But I am bidding there pretty high. More than the market value that it shows, like, I don't know, like $400. I'm not getting any calls.
Really?
So I'm not building too much. I also have the Google Maps, which I tried optimizing it, but it doesn't provide too much traffic.
Okay.
And I think I understand that strategically, getting referrals or having a good referral networks is way more solid and on the radar than Google PPC, because eventually it's just going to go high and high. Competition is high. It's really hard to stand out when you are there on the Google PPC.
Really is. And
if tomorrow, like a very big player comes into Houston and then decide, I want all the traffic, I'm going to bid $200 per click. I don't care losing for it because I want to take over the market. Especially for me as a very small contractor at the moment, I have no way of dealing with it without like taking really big risk.
Right.
And having relationships with people in the industry that trust me is way more solid. It's undetectable or less detectable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's harder to take even with some money because the contractors, the plumbers that I'm looking to work with, I want to work with people that care about their reputation, and no one will risk their reputation that fast for a little bit more money on the short term because they might pay on the long term of getting their reputation ruined if they referred the wrong the wrong company. So this is how I see it. It's an opinion. It's not
the long term. The industry partnerships is key. They're the best potential for long-term relationships, long-term return on investment, and it's really not that big of an investment. It's you just got to consistently be there and come through for your industry partner, and they'll consistently give you leads because you just build that up over time. But it does take time. It takes.
Yeah.
It does.
Another channel I started is yesterday actually. I did a presentation for a remodeling company for
Okay.
their sales representative.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that was interesting. So I started doing it, and I have another plumbing company that they both invited me. I met them in some places, and they invited me to do a short lecture about water damage.
Okay.
And I took it to the direction of how to, if you're already walking into a client's house and you're already doing a water damage, remodeling project, how can you maybe try to identify existing water damage, communicate it to the homeowner, and make him call me so I can come there and take a look and understand exactly what he has there. Because you might be able to identify it before you start the project, or after you start the project and you're taking down walls and you start seeing signs of water or whatever. And that way they also gain, because now doing the water damage or the mitigation part opens the reconstruction part, and that reconstruction can easily become another remodeling, because if they're already remodeling a part of their house,
Yeah.
that reconstruction,
Yep.
they wouldn't want they wouldn't want to just renovate it to a pre-loss condition if it's a 40 years old house. They probably want to upgrade a little bit to match the remodeling they're already doing.
They'll
So
update.
this is with the remodeling, the value that I tried showing them, and also show them that mitigation and water damage, it's not something they can just put a few friends and deal with it on their own, and they need a professional who understands exactly what they're doing, because there's a lot of liability involved as well.
Yeah.
And dealing with insurance company and all the rest of it. So I try to show them how to identify it, why it's so important to deal with it, how to communicate it, how it will leverage their work that they're doing so they can gain from it as well. And I forgot the last thing right now. My line of thought just got cut.
That actually plays into the topic of markup and O&P on mitigation, because when you start these partnerships, when you start these referral agreements and things like that, you need to be in a position to break off a piece of that work to reward your referral partner, or you know, and build that relationship, or build that, you know, this is how we're going to work. You're going to give me the lead. I'm going to give you 10% of that. You're going to give me the lead, or I'm going to give you 20% of that. And I'm sure that some of the guys you've already talked to, you said, well, I want 30, I want 40, I want half.
Half. Some people said, but you need to have enough margin. But I will say one more thing. Sorry, that eventually 2 clicks on Google can buy me two appointments at Starbucks with coffee. So like cost efficient, buying donuts for $20 is like paying for 2 clicks that I'm paying each day, at least for like 4 or 5 clicks, and it doesn't do anything except for maybe ranking my ads.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking at the value, that money that goes there can also be redirected to just building relationships.
Yeah, that in person, there's nothing that's going to beat shaking a hand. There's nothing that's going to beat face to face, press in the flesh. That just, I mean, there's a reason that a lot of us still have marketing reps that actually go in person and talk to people, because people don't do business with an internet ad. They don't do business with a web page. They do business with people, and they want to be able to visualize that person and see that person. But if you want to be in a position to break off a portion of a project for a referral partner, you need to ensure that there's money in it first. And the easiest way to ensure there's money in it is to use a markup, a consistent markup that you use on every single project, that's based on something in your business. Your overhead is a great number to go off of, that you know, come hell or high water, that you at least have X percentage at the end of the day. You know, the job is going to cost what it costs. You're going to have job costs for that, but you should be able to, pretty soon you're going to have an idea of what your job profitability is going to be. How many is it just you, or do you got a crew? How many folks?
No, so basically it's just me at the company, but I do partner with other contractors. Some of them, I mean, they are here in the group, and they are great guys. So they support me, and I'm bringing them to jobs that I have, and I go help them with jobs that they have and they need extra help. So this is another part of the relationships that I'm trying to build, to basically extend my capacity in knowledge, personnel, machinery, back up each other when we're not around for any reason. So this is another like arm of relationships that I'm building, because eventually I think that if we'll be a group of like 5-10 contractors working together, helping each other, it's having a super group, a superpower, a little bit like the Power Rangers. You know, if you when they gather up and build this giant robot, because I'm saying we're talking right now, tomorrow I can get a call for something that is way over my capacity and knowledge and experience, and for sure I'm going to have to bring in like 4 or 5 contractors so we can all do it together.
But you say yes and then figure out how to do it. That's how.
Yeah, definitely.
Just say yes.
Definitely.
So back in the day, I keep saying that I'm old. I'm 47 years old this year. And so I've been doing this since 2000, 2001. Actually, wow. Eugene, if you're still here, you're probably doing it about as long as I have been. And back then, we didn't have Xactimate. We did have Xactimate. We used Xactimate for 50% of our work. The other 50% of the work, the company I was working for, they had their own proprietary system. It was DOS based. It was clunky, but it worked. And the main reason it worked is because they knew they developed the pricing on their own. And no matter if it was contents manipulation or content storage or contents cleaning or emergency services, mitigation, demolition, drying, and things like that, everything got marked up. And some of those service offerings had a different markup percentage than others. But then Xactimate came along, and somehow, we all decided that 10 and 10 was enough to do our work. It doesn't make any sense if you understand how markup truly works, if you understand how overhead truly works, and how at the end of the year net profit truly works. 10 and 10 is not enough. It never has been. But we decided on this number, 10 and 10. And so we put it on. We put it on everything. We use it like Frank's Red Hot sauce. We put that shit on everything. So early on, I don't want to say early on, 2006, 2007, 2008, right in there, we started getting pushback, mainly from program vendors and adjusters who were working these programs, the TPAs, said, we don't want to give you markup on these certain items. And they just took it away. And at the time, we weren't program vendors. Then the companies I worked for weren't program vendors. So we said, whatever, do you, because we're not going to change our billing practices because you just said so. There was no federal law that came down the pipe that said you can only charge contractor markup on certain trades. There was no state legislation. I mean, there was nothing except for some adjuster or some consultant at a consulting company to an insurance company said, we can save billions of dollars every year if we just tell them they can't mark this up. And that's where this came from. It didn't come from anywhere else except for insurance carriers trying to limit claim severity. Yeah. And so 10 and 10 became this thing that they were selectively putting 10 and 10 on things like that. But we never agreed to it, right? We tacitly agreed that 10 and 10 was the right number, even though we all knew it wasn't the right number. But none of us agreed that we were no longer going to mark up mitigation. So fast forward 20 years, and we're here. We've got adjusters who believe that there is a boatload of money, an obscene amount of money to be made in mitigation, and that 20% markup is an unnecessary markup because there's still plenty of money in it. So from you, Eli, I'm going to go to Joe here in a second. From your position as a new startup, is there anything that you read or anything that you heard from anywhere that said you can't mark up your work?
I cannot mark up. I heard Only
you
from the
cannot.
adjuster
Is
side.
there anything say
Yeah.
that? Who told you that you cannot mark up your mitigation work?
Code Blue,
Mm,
when they review one of my
Okay.
estimate, the one.
hmm
Yeah, so
And?
it said, no, we're just not gonna pay for that. And I told the adjuster eventually, this is what we agree, because the adjuster already agreed for the O&P on the bid items. I didn't request O&P on the entire invoice,
Mm.
which might have been a mistake, but for that part, he agreed to it. Code Blue said, we're not paying for that. He said, the insurance is not gonna pay for it. I've been paid in full. It's, I did my best, and this is the last email, I did my best to explain exactly what they missed, because Code Blue also missed, like, I gave a drying log. You saw that report. I gave them the drying logs and the equipment logs, and they just skipped it. And it proves that they're just trying to mark up, because they saw in the same room two dehumidifiers, a large one and an Excel one, and say, no, you don't need two. They just cut it off. And they didn't even realize that they weren't there at the same time, that they were back to back with the, like, we took one out, we pulled the other, and the other one was after abatement.
Yeah.
So they didn't even took it. It just, no, we're not going to pay for that.
They're not.
Got it.
They're not there for quality control.
Yeah, I know. They're like, we're not paying for a HEPA vacuum. I mean, a HEPA filter. We're going to pay you 0.25. And we're not going to pay like minimum labor for cleaning. So I wrote them, would you expect that if someone come and do a demolition after they did the extraction of water, he will just start blowing up air without cleaning the debris first? I mean, is that seem logical? Or would you agree that I will come with a HEPA filter that I just used on a different project that got contamination in your house? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And I understand the argument of a filter can filter for like 700 or 1900 hours, but it's not relevant, because you cannot use it on a different place and maybe cross contaminated it. So yeah, it seems like they have no sense, but so I'm trying just to catch them on their mistake and say, because when I ask them, please detail why you took off each line, they're like, oh, we just did it by industry standard. So when I replied, I said, oh, so it is in industry standard,
Please show
not
me
using a dehumidifier.
Show me that standard. Show me that book. Show me.
Yeah, and
that
I
book.
also asked them, like, show me where it says that you don't need to clean before you put drying equipment. Show me where it says it's okay to spread debris all around the house. Where it
Mhm.
says. They didn't answer that email yet from a few days ago.
No, they won't. They
Yeah,
won't answer
but
that
I
email.
don't. I mean, either way, I didn't ask for their approval. I didn't please approve everything. I just, this is what you did. This is what I built for, and these are the facts. That's it.
Mhm.
I'm doing
Yeah.
my best to help him as a courtesy, to help my client who is very old, but eventually your deal is with him, and my deal is with him, and I already got fully
And
paid. So
RIA just came out with two additional position statements.
yeah,
One is denial of charges for the cost of doing business, and the other one is adjusters dictating restoration charges. So I'm gonna download these and bring these up.
okay.
But yeah, go Joe. Eli, thanks for your input. Let's keep going around the horn here. Joe, what's your take on markup? Contractor, I'm going to call it markup. I'm not going to call it O&P, because it's not O&P. It's just markup. What's your take on markup on mitigation emergency services? And you're muted.
There we go. Well, I mean, I think every single business in the entire world, regardless if it's construction or making cheeseburgers or whatever, has a right to have a markup for them to make their profit or to cover their non-job specific overhead issues, which is where we get the overhead profit from. The reason why there's so much fuss about it is because, I mean, it's a lot of it. I mean, I hate to put it this way here. A lot of it is from Xactimate's white pages from 2015, because the 2015 white pages used to state that a markup was already included in the line items for in-house work being done.
Where?
Or
Wait, you have a copy of that?
I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere here. Pages 2015. Let me see here if I got it still. The old white pages used to say that Xactimate has built into it overhead and profit for in-house work being done or for the subcontractor to make a profit on. So if you're subbing it out, there was a little bit of overhead and profit built into the line item already for them. But if you did it in-house, you didn't need it. Well, I'll have to find it for you here in a minute. So what happened was most restoration companies do the mitigation in-house and then they sub everything else out. So overhead and profit on the mitigation was getting kicked down left and right all the time. That's when it started. They've since changed the white pages to say that no overhead and profit are included in the system, but most adjusters don't care to hear that or believe it or will take the time to actually realize it and accept it, and they fight you on it. But at the end of the day, it's 100% valid to have overhead and profit on your estimates on everything, regardless there's no complexity. I don't care if I have to if I order a single cheeseburger from McDonald's, there's a markup on it, no different than if I order the combo meal. I don't get it cheaper just because I ordered it by itself.
Mhm.
I mean, so the fact that they try to tell us that, oh yeah, you got, no, it's completely bullhickey. And here we go, right here. Hang on, let me share my screen.
Bull hickey. Oh shoot, I probably have to allow.
Nope,
You got it. You're in.
Are you seeing the white pages here?
I see the reverse phone lookup.
Oh, wrong screen. Hang on. How do I change what screen it is? Share screen 1. Is that it now?
There we go. Okay,
So this is
2011.
This is 2011,
Yep.
and it says include Xactimate pricing.
No, keep going. I think I have a copy of this. 2011 was a while. Component was nope.
Hang on, it's somewhere.
General OMP. Okay.
Let me see here. Hang on.
Overhead. Do you think it's in the pricing? It's not in that. It's probably in the pricing. Whatchamacallit. They had another white paper.
Yeah.
How do I get out of this?
Personal administrative.
I see markup and O&P, general contractor.
These
O&P
expenses
markup.
will be incurred by the general contractor using employee. Okay, so right here it says
Or by a
job
subcontractor,
overhead.
depending who's actually.
Personal overhead includes a portion of
If the work is being subcontracted, then these expenses are commonly called subcontractor overhead and profit. Yeah, which is just confusing. It's unnecessarily confusing.
including job personnel, overhead, or subcontractor and Xactimate estimates excludes labor, the labor over. Yeah, I got to figure out where it is. I think I even have an email from them back in the day when I emailed them also.
Yeah, I know where you're going. It's just that's not the right paper, I don't think.
Yeah, let me see what I can find on my emails. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody should be charging a markup of some kind. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't care if I'm going out there even if I'm going out there to inspect a property, and I'm producing nothing, there's still a markup, if I'm billing for the inspection, because my company has to cover my cost, the vehicle cost, and then still make some kind of money off of me, or else there's no point in me going out to a job. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that do get overhead and profit. I mean, there's a lot of people that'll get it. The problem with like Code Blue and them all is no matter what, if they get a hold of your file, regardless if you're a TPA or not, they treat you like you have to abide by their rules, which we all know you don't have to, but they don't have any. I mean, I hate putting this way here. Most of them have no freaking clue what they're talking about. Usually it's just the computer spits out a report that says not approved, not approved, not approved, and they just say it's not approved.
Right.
I mean, even my daytime company, which is a TPA office, we have, I get it all the time where the adjuster has approved it on there, but since the TPA has to scrub through it, they're like, oh, well, with that on email, I can't approve this and I can't send this over. I'm like, the whole estimate's already been approved. I sent it to the adjuster first and then sent it over to you guys because I didn't want to have to deal with you guys. And they don't pay attention to this stuff. They really don't. Pricing.
Combination of using time now. I've got their 2018 pricing research methodology PDF open now. I'm going through it.
I'm trying to figure out which one it is, but yeah, I mean,
Market
everyone should. I mean, now granted, yeah, I mean, is there other ways of getting around it where you don't have to blatantly put it on there? Yeah, there, you know, you do a global change increase if you need to and all, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because
Okay, so tell me, Joe, talk to me about give me a response to the statement of there's plenty of money in it.
I
What
guess
do you
that's
say to that?
that's a
And
complete.
is there plenty of money in it? And every time an adjuster says that to me, and I said this yesterday to this guy that said that to me, I said, define your terms. What's plenty? If
Here, by
there's
the way,
plenty of margin in it, what is that
real
number?
quickly here,
What's that
real quickly here.
percentage? Yeah.
Here's from Thea, who's in the video watching us. She sent this over to us. This is from the pricing methodology. And it says within Xactimate, general overhead for general contractors are added a percentage of the estimate parameters. Subcontractor overhead and profit is intended to be included in the labor overhead portion. So
subcontractor overhead and profit is intended to be included in the labor overhead portion. And this is old. This is not been updated.
right, this is current, this is not current, this is old.
Okay,
But
so
yeah,
that's where they got it.
yeah,
And so when they say you're doing it in-house, they're essentially calling you a subcontractor of yourself, and your profit is already built in, is what they're trying to say, which it ain't.
correct. Yep. And let's see here. So what else does this say here? Hang on. Sorry, I keep going. Is based on general guidelines. Alternative, yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's not an important part there. But yeah, I mean, that's where it really started from. Was it was like, well, they already built overhead and profit in for the subcontractors. You're not subbing anything else, so therefore, there's overhead and profit built into the estimate already. You don't need to add a more markup on it. But that's no longer the case. But unlike, you know,
Well, it was never the case. Let's be clear. It was never built in. This is just, there was enough wiggle language out there that people could hide behind a white paper that was poorly written to say that it was.
Well, not only that there, but I mean, I don't know a single company that actually if they do their numbers correctly are only need to make 10 and 10. Like, I mean, most people want to make 30% on, you know, 20 to 30% on the profit on it.
It all goes back to what is your overhead? What is your true overhead? And what is your profit goal? That's what it always comes down to. If your profit goal is 10% net into the year, and you've got an overhead of 20%, you've got a combined profit and overhead combined of 30%. But that doesn't mean you have to mark up everything 30% because that's going to leave you short. If you have a 30% margin to cover, you have to, you have to have a 45% markup.
And unfortunately, a lot of companies, they try to find the money and they try to get people the cheaper labor in. They try to get the cheaper stuff in. That's why here in Indiana, at least, I can tell you right now, like the highest paid water techs hourly that I know of only make about $20 an hour. That's been the same since I was a water tech 10 years ago. Like,
yeah,
because
it hasn't changed.
Nothing changes and all.
It hasn't evolved.
We're just trying to still pinch the pennies tighter.
So here's the pricing research methodology white paper. The correct price for any job is based upon an agreement between the purchaser and the provider. The price which the purchaser is willing to pay and the provider is willing to work. Done and done. Let's look at this. I'm going to peek over at the
effectively what the adjusters are saying. I always use food as an example because I'm a fat guy, but you know, they say, oh, we only owe what's the average price or what's commonplace. Well, I can buy a cheeseburger at McDonald's $1, a cheeseburger at Wendy's is $1.29, and a cheeseburger at Burger King is $1.09. They're going to try to say, well, I only need to pay $1.07 or whatever because that's the average price. But it's not their choice what you charge for. It's my choice to run my company. And if I want to be considered a 5-star elite restoration company and I am the creme de la creme and I work on like $1 million mansions and I take way more time and I'm more methodical about it, my prices are going to be higher than, you know, no offense when I say this to anybody, but like a small little tiny Surf Pro or Service Master franchise that, just does water damages and that's it, or Bob's little plumbing company that does a little bit of dry out, everyone has different prices. And the fact that they don't want to pay it is just their way of cutting the bottom dollar off so they can make a profit at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, the insurance doesn't care about the clients. They care about their stockholders because they have a legal responsibility to make a profit because they're a publicly traded company. They can get in trouble if they don't make a profit. So they will do everything they can to make sure and it's a Kool-Aid that everyone drinks, where it's just a lot of smaller companies, they don't have the resources or the money flow to spend arguing a file for 30, 60, 90 days to just in all, because at the end of the day, you will win, but they don't have the time. They need to get that money in, in under 30 days.
Well, yeah,
so
winning what you're owed 190 days later is losing, because you have financed that job until you got paid, and you've lost money, because we're not banks. We're not set up that way. So here is, let's see, is this the whole thing? Looks like it's the whole thing. So part number 2 of this RIA position statement number 4, contractors can and should set their own prices. Restorers can and should set their own prices. Contrary to popular belief, software providers do not set prices. Thank you, Xactware. Software providers are reporters of surveyed price information at a specific moment in time. They publish reference prices, which may or may not be applicable to a specific task or job, or may not accurately represent the true market value of restoration services. The accurate or the right price is not something that is global in nature. Instead, it must be specific to the job. The right price is based upon the location, the accessibility, the conditions, the needs of the customer or the consumer, and the needs of the contractor in regard to overhead, target margins, and other factors. Ultimately, the usual and customary cost of restoration work is determined by the buyers and sellers in an open marketplace, as explained further in position payment number 1. So if you are an RIA member, you can download all their position statements. And I'm going to download this one, and there was another one that came out today. I have started to package them all. I put them all as addendums to every single estimate that I write. And because I want everyone to read them. I want everyone in the insurance ecosystem to read them and be aware that we know what they're up to. We know that they're full of shit, and we get to determine our own destiny. Okay, let me see.
Well, and here's the other thing that most people seem to always forget. You have, even when the job's done and the COS is signed, you still have liability on a project, which means, on reconstruction, you might have a 1-year warranty. You have X amount of time on a dry out where if something comes up and something happens, mold starts forming, you're going to be responsible for that because you're the last one in, unless you can show that there's a new loss. With no markup of any kind, and you're just direct, breaking even on every job. Soon as somebody happens, say God forbid, an electrician, wired the house up bad, your company's on liable for it. You're not going to have any money to help take care of that warranty issue because you're not getting your markups. Not getting the markup is ridiculous. The fact that we all agree that it's 10 and 10 is that's absurd.
It really is.
And but at the end of the day, I know everybody wants to be confrontational with adjusters, but
I don't know. Wait, what? Who wants to be confrontational?
I know so many people that are they act like,
I don't want to be confrontational, but I have to be sometimes.
Yeah, but I also, in my area, like I said, I've been in Indianapolis now 20 years. I know almost every one of my adjusters by first name. They know me and all, and we have a good relationship where sometimes, we don't see eye to eye, but for the most part, I can get what I need and I can get my estimates approved because not only do they know who I am, but they trust that I'm not in there, screwing around. Like, I'm taking care of it the right way. I've proven myself. And if you build good relationships with some of these adjusters that you're seeing routinely and all, it does become so much easier to get around.
It really does. It really does.
I have a TPA right now with Code Blue where literally, they're not supposed to have any overhead and profit on the mitigation side. Well, it was a fire. So part of the mitigation is considered the demo and structure clean. My adjusters like Joe, put all your dry out equipment on the mitigation with no overhead and profit, but all the demo and all the structure clean included on your reconstruction estimate, and I'll give you overhead and profit on there. And I was like, hey, that's a fair trade-off. I can do that.
I hate that statement. I'll give you. Fuck you. You're
But
gonna
well,
pay my
remember though,
goddamn
that's
bill.
a TPA that my
Yeah,
company has
right.
chosen to follow their rule sets on.
Sure,
But
sure.
I mean, on a non-TPA job, it's your price. Like I don't recommend anybody that does it. Do not send over a rough draft or a final draft of your estimate. You need to only be sending over the scope version of your estimate, because the scope version is going to have all your measurements and square footages, but it's only going to have a single price calculation at
One
the
number.
very bottom of the estimate.
Yep.
And then they can't argue and nitpick and try to pilfer, try to nickel and dime you as much, because no, that's my price. One price. Here's an itemized list of everything I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Boom, done.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so this is a side note to whoever runs the RIA website checkout. This is kind of clunky. I'm already registered. I'm already like a dude, right? I've got an account. I pay for that. And I just registered for the last position paper I just downloaded, but now I want to download a different one, and I've got to register, and it's weird. Add to cart, complete. This is just clunky. I'm doing this so you guys can see. Maybe fix this. Okay, complete registration. Whatever. I don't need whatever. Okay, so now how do I go back, view product? That's just clunky. Just clunky. I love the position papers. I love the resource. Make it a little easier. Okay, here we go. I'm going to download this one as well to my desktop. This one is called adjusters dating. And yeah, why don't you name it instead of naming it all these letters? Why don't you name it what it is? Anyway, RIA, food for thought, just a little guidance there. Let's read this. Actually, I'm going to open this up and stop sharing and reshare this properly. Here we go. All right. Denial of charges for the cost of doing business. Issue: insurance carriers refuse to pay restoration charges they believe are the air quotes cost of doing business. The statement is insurance carriers must not refuse to pay restoration charges on grounds that they represent items that are the cost of doing business. Okay, I can get behind that 1,000,000%. Okay, it goes into a little detail. Okay, so it just kind of reiterates statements from other some of the other papers. Okay. All right, so the biggest thing is this first statement here. Whenever they say it's cost of doing business, they're lying, because it's not. If it was truly a cost of doing business, it would be in your overhead, and you would accommodate for that overhead by using an appropriate markup. But if you say it's a cost of doing business, but you don't let me apply a markup, where the hell am I supposed to make up that cost of doing business? Seriously, people. Good. I like this paper. This is good. So stop share here. Hannah, you asked where I can find a copy of that. Well, the position papers, I think you were referring to Xactware. So if you've got an Xactimate, you have access to all their paperwork, and I'm sure it's, where would you find the Xactimate white papers? Let's just do a search. White paper. Okay, so exactware.com / no. Oh, that's weird. Okay. I don't know. Where do you find it? Where do you find this stuff? It's on, you just search exactware.com for those white papers, and you can download them pretty readily. I've got them collected here, and I used to have a link. Let me see if I have a link. Let me see here. So who else is in the room? We got Hannah. Hannah, what's your take on O&P markup on mitigation services? Can you talk right now, or are you busy?
I'm currently in the gas station,
Oh, okay.
trying to find some food on the road. But yeah, I've got a lot of frustrations with that regarding some recent appraisals.
Well, I can't find the link, so you're gonna have to do some research. I'll try to post up a link in the group later, but these things make the rounds. So like I said, in the opening of today, I've got 3 appraisals open right now with the same opposing appraiser who does nothing but carrier side work, who says he's not going to pay overhead and profit on mitigation activities. And so that's going to be our biggest bone of contention when we go to the umpire, because we're not going to be able to settle on this thing. We're not going to be able to see eye to eye, because in his opinion, there's plenty of money in it. And he knows plenty of contractors that don't mark up their mitigations, and they make plenty of money. I mean, plenty. But he's unable to define his term. What does plenty mean? How much is enough? How much is enough? And that's the chapter of the book I'm writing. Chapter of
On average, your water damages keep your lights turned on. Everybody waits for the big surge floods or the big house fires. That's your big money maker profits for the year on things. But your water damages are on average for most companies. They're just your keeping everybody working, keeping your lights on things, and all because there's not that much money in them. I mean, unless you are on your guys' butts, making sure they are doing everything 100% to the letter, in which case then you get that's not how normal companies in your area do it. I don't give a damn. If the book tells me to do it, I don't care if I'm the only one out of 500 companies that do it, I'm doing it right. You need to pay me for it.
right.
And I get that. I've had that a lot. They're like, well, that's not typical for your industry or your region for it to be done that way. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, here's my justification from my S500. Here's my photo documentation showing that we did do it. And at the end of the day, I don't care if you agree that it should have been done or not. We did do it. Therefore, we do get paid for it. It doesn't matter if you think I'm wrong or right. I did an action.
Yep.
And I get paid for my actions.
Yeah. And we've got to stand our ground. I've got a good friend of mine who he doesn't do 100% restoration work. He probably does 25% of his overall volume is restoration work. The rest is specialty mold and coatings removal stuff. And he got into a big job at a very fancy manufacturing facility, and this fire job, and the electronics cleaning, he's going to have to sub out. He has to sub out the electronics cleaning because he doesn't do that in-house, and it's very specialty stuff anyway. The electronics cleaning portion of this job is $2.4 million. And he called me and said, how much pushback am I going to get when I mark up this bill from my subcontractor? 2.4 million. So that's, what's 10 and 10 on 2.4 is a lot, right? It's $500,000, right?
Marks it up to 2,840,000.
Yeah, 500 grand.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, you're going to get a lot of pushback. It doesn't mean you're wrong. Just because you get pushback, it doesn't mean you're wrong.
I mean, we are fronting the money for these projects. We are using cards and loans and everything else, getting interest incurred, still having to pay everybody their paychecks while we wait for someone to finally pay us our money on average. That is why a markup is needed, because if you
Hell-
want to pay me the
Hell,
same day,
I write estimates for contractors and they hang me out. I pay my writers before I get paid. And these guys string me out. So yeah, you'd be mistaken if you didn't think I factored that into my pricing.
you got to be able to keep the lights on. You got to keep your programs running and everything, regardless if you've been paid or not. You got to keep going so you can get the new work in. And that's where the markup comes in at. Because if you're going to pay me same day, hey, job's done. Okay, here's your credit card. Yeah, I can do it for cheaper because I'm immediately paid and we're moved on to the next one. But if I got to sit around and dick off with it and answer phone calls and harass people for money, that's extra time that I could be doing making money. That's where my markup comes in at to cover those kind of costs. That
If the money's not in my account, I'm moving backwards.
yeah,
I don't need that money to make money. I need that money to lose money.
I mean, it is. It's crazy that.
Go ahead,
there's such
Eli. What's up?
I wanted to ask, what is your opinion or your take about declaring that late fees, basically?
Wait, say that again.
What is your take on late fees? I mean, of not getting paid. Do you add it up to the invoice and basically charge for this financing that you're not getting paid?
I charge 8% a month.
8% a month?
I don't know what the APR of that is, but it's a lot. It's more than 8.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've seen 10%. I've seen late penalties at 10%, which is,
Wait.
I don't use a late fee to make money. I use a late fee to get people to pay the goddamn bill.
Yeah. And what is your opinion about the time that you're investing, communicating with adjusters and doing all this additional work that if they would have paid in time?
That's
wouldn't have been-
project management time, and that's direct job costs. And I
So every email that you're
you
responding, you put it back on the invoice. So any back and forth basically is added up to the final invoice for the same estimate invoice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and
Okay.
when you get Code Blue or Sedgwick or one of these TPAs calling you up asking you to jump through a whole bunch of hoops, your first response is oh shoot, I forget who was doing this. Was Tim? I think Tim Fuller was
Timothy, I
doing
think I saw one of his email I followed
it. Yeah, he said
about the
he said-
IP and about charging more.
He said, I am more than happy to do this for you, Mr. TPA guy and adjuster. And he CC'd the adjuster, I'm sure, and his client. And he said, my rate is X. I don't know what his rate was, $150 an hour. I've already spent 4 hours on this. So I'm going to send over what you asked me for and a bill for $500. And guess
I mean,
what?
You can't talk to a lawyer or anybody. Or a
They
doctor
didn't
without
call him
getting
back.
charged.
They didn't call him back. They paid his bill and his $500 bill. I mean,
I should add up. I didn't add up on my final invoice the project management time. I just realized it after getting paid by the client.
yeah, and that's where, I mean, the supervision calculator that I keep bringing up has
They took it off, the supervision.
supervision and project management, 2 separate items, because your superintendent, your project job site superintendent is not the project manager estimator. Eli, in your case, it is.
Yeah.
but mostly you have a different person performing a different function, and they are all costs of the job. It's not cost of doing business. It's not part of your overhead.
Yeah, it's a
part of your
direct
job
cost of the job. This is what I
Job
told him, and
cost.
also about fuel surcharge, going back and forth with a 12 mile per gallon vehicle with all the equipment. It's, of course they refused it. But I have another question. I also, when we had the abatement, I also came and spent the entire day there to make sure that they are doing everything right, stealing the right part, taking out everything we defined that needs to be taken out. We had a situation where we weren't sure that the floor in the middle is with asbestos or not. So I've been there all day long, and the adjuster said, "Yeah, I paid you for those hours in the O&P that you took on that bid item." And I'm not no. That O&P is for calling, looking for them, spending time on the phone with them, trying to bring it.
That's not even, Eli, that's not even accurate. O&P
Okay.
is to pay your office staff, to pay your office rent, to pay your internet, to pay your insurance.
Yeah, I mean, this is the office time that I spent like calling,
No, but that's-
searching.
No, but that's
collecting-
opposite. That's time you spent on that particular project. That's a direct job cost.
Yeah,
That's not overhead.
yeah, it's not
It's not,
something
it's
that
not
on a
general
regular
overhead,
basis.
it's job specific overhead.
Job
Yeah,
specific
got it.
overhead.
You
Yep.
know, and here's the thing
Yeah.
is everyone always, I know everyone has heard it. Oh, it's not complex enough. There's not 3 trades. I've had a job where literally it was reinstall a toilet, reinstall a piece of baseboard and paint the walls. And they're like, oh, we're not going to pay overhead and profit on it. It's not complex enough. Does anyone here actually believe that when I hire a plumber that he's not marking up his and having an overhead and profit on his fee for me to have that toilet?
And guess
hooked up?
what? His markup is probably 60%.
Yeah. I mean, how many times does one of you guys write up a fire estimate, recon estimate, and then you just do a bid item for the plumbing and a bid item because they don't have any requirements to follow Xactimate and everything. And the judge was like, yeah, I'll take it. But why is it that those specific trades are okay to do that, but then everything else you can't have overhead and profit on, or that you can't do yourself? It's a BS argument that when you start pulling the strings on it, the whole thing comes unwound, and you realize that it's just their way of getting you to feel like we're going to keep fighting you on this until you just say, screw it. Just what are you going to give me? I've fucked around with this enough. It's time for me to get paid and move on to the next job. I ain't got
It's a war of attrition. It always has been. It's a war of attrition.
And what's bad is you get people like me or Andy who literally live and breathe and die debating and arguing with people. And I'll sit there and argue with an adjuster till I'm blue in the face over $3 just for principles at times. Like I don't mind losing money if I want just to prove a point. But
well, the principle is important, because that $3 today multiplied times every claim that's open today, multiplied times every claim into the future with the same issue on it, that's real money. So with the way I look at it, Joe, is when I'm arguing for that $3, and I'm not arguing for that $3. I'm arguing for everyone else from this point in time forward. I'm trying to eliminate that argument from ever coming up again, at least with this particular adjuster. And I think a big portion of the white papers from RIA is heading off these arguments now. Let's have these arguments in discussions right now, so we don't have to do them ever again. And it's going to be a long process. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's what I'm arguing for. I'm arguing for you guys. I'm arguing for everyone else in this industry handling the exact same issue with the exact same bullshit excuses that we're being fed every day. And that $3 is not $3. It is everything. It is millions of dollars or billions of dollars. And if you want to talk about 10 and 10 markup on mitigation across the country, that's easily billions of dollars. Easily. Go ahead, Eli. What's up?
I have a question about the markup. Like technically, how do you do it? Do you just mark up each and every item line on the 10 and 10, or you just mark up the prices on the back end so they don't see it when they look on the paper?
Well, both.
I mean, what do you get the least pushback on? Because I did took one of the item lines of supervision, and I just changed the price.
Yeah.
Change the price, and it took the entire line.
Yeah, I'll do a custom price list, and they'll be like, "Well, you used a custom price list," and I'll say, "Yes, I did." And we only pay this, and that's I want to those are the words I want them to put in writing, because those are the things that we're collecting. People like Ed Cross are collecting words like that in writing. Well, we only pay X. We only pay Xactimate rates. Blah blah blah. Those are things that are going to come up in a class action lawsuit down the road. I'm not going to bring the lawsuit, but I'll sure as hell help somebody collect the data for it.
Okay, so basically also recording calls with them, it's a good thing other than the state.
Oh, record everything.
I don't take any phone calls if it's from an adjuster, unless I know them, like actually have a good relationship with them. I will say, hey, I'm busy right now. Send me an email, and I'll be like, I'm too busy, and hang up. And then as soon as I know what they call about, because I want everything in writing. I want to have documented proof of what was said and agreed upon. Like if the adjuster calls me, hey, I was calling you about John Smith's job. Oh, yeah, yeah, I can help you with that, but I'm actually really busy right now. Can you send me an email over and I'll get back to you later today? Boom, done. I mean,
Got
that's all you need to do. And
Yep.
I mean, it's a touchy subject and I get that, but I mean, yeah, you should be. I mean, here's the thing is adjusters have more wiggle room on things than they give credit to. Like I have a job
yeah.
right now, Andy, I've told you about in the past where the insurance company didn't have any more money to pay for the mold remediation. The homeowner was not allowing the mitigation company to come back and fix the mold remediation. So he had me globally increase all the prices of the estimate by 20%, which got me the number I needed to do for the mold remediation. And he was okay with that. Like they can allow you to do this stuff, but by default, they are told to try to fight you on it tooth and nail because they don't want to do it.
Well, they are. I mean, and I think I've said this before. I know I've said this before. You have a beautiful little niche where you're at, Joe. You have great relationships with a handful of dudes and gals that you work with almost on a day-to-day basis. You can have those conversations and you can come to those compromises. And that's a beautiful thing. But the vast majority of the market is dealing with adjusters that haven't been in the industry for more than 2 years, and they've received zero training. All they know is what they're told, and they're not told much. So, when they have the rule book set in front of them, we don't pay 10 and 10. We don't pay markup on XYZ. That is all they know. And that's all the leeway they have.
And what's bad is you get somebody like me or Andy on the phone with them and we start talking to them, they are completely lost when we start talking about supporting events. They have no clue what the supporting events do or how, different aspects of it. And I mean, this is by no means advertisement or marketing for anything at all. But if you're having massive kickbacks on like an estimate and all, talk to Andy, talk to me, talk to the numerous other people in the group here. So that we do this all the time. Have us help you guys. Cause a lot of people, one of the biggest issues I see on a lot of people's estimates is they're not using the right line items to get it to where the adjuster will approve it. Because it's like, for example, we don't pay to mask for masking on painting, but they will pay contents protection to cover stuff with plastic. But as long as that line item reads as masking and taping, they'll fight you on all day long. So you have to learn these little, effectively tricks of how to, use a different line item that'll get approved, and it does. A lot of people don't have the time or the effort to put into the amount of time we know. I have half the Xactimate price list pretty much memorized code wise. Like it takes a lot of time to remember it.
Tia taps and says, masking.
It is. I know a lot of people that they can't get masking covered for painting or drywall work and everything. We don't pay for masking, but they just switch it to contents protect, putting plastic over them. They'll pay it all day long.
So you take a different tag than I do. I just say, where in the policy does it say you don't pay for masking? Show me the guideline. Show me. I don't have a problem following guidelines as long as you can show me them.
The masking line, I have a love-hate relationship with the tape only masking line because I don't know many painters that do, professional painters that do have to tape things off. They are really good at cutting in.
What?
Yeah, I know.
You're not going to cut in an entire house, crown and base. You're not going to cut in an entire house. No way.
A lot of houses out here don't have crown, luckily, but I know the vast majority of painters nowadays I see, they just cut in real quick and all. They'll put a little bit of tape up maybe, but not a lot. But I understand sometimes when they're like, not on the tape only one, but covering contents up. You just have to do it.
It has to be done. Yeah.
It's just like porta potties. If I have a job that's going to be there for a long time, it's unreasonable for me to expect them to use the bathroom of the homeowner's house. Or are you going to pay for the homeowner's toilet paper we use?
Yeah.
Nor is it effective for me to expect my crews to go down the street to the local gas station when they got to go to the bathroom. I have girls.
I like that. Are you going to pay for the TP? Oh,
I have
man.
women.
I'm going to write that in an email.
Sorry, not girls. I have women that work on my crew. I have a female roofing crew. I have a female painting crew. I have a female water crew. It is not reasonable for me to tell them that they have to go down when they have their feminine issues. Like they have to have quick access to that stuff.
Yes, they do.
And they just say, "Oh, we don't we don't pay for that." You are because I have to have it. Like, you want me to tell Susan that she has to go down, 5 minutes, 10, 20 minutes down the road because they're in the country? No.
here's the reality. I use the masking for margin. Masking is margin. Now, if I can, if I customize the price list and build in the markup that's appropriate, I may or may not need masking to make that number, to make the margin. But in a regular, if in a situation where I'm not allowed to use a custom price list, I need that additional line item to make the margin on that painting activity.
You know,
So-
I mean, it's just like your cabinets. Nobody in Xactimate estimates cabinets to get enough money for cabinets. That's why you estimate the closest you can. There's like, yeah, and then you go to Lowe's, Home Depot, your cabinet stuff, and you're like, well, here's the actual price, and you show them the invoice. You know, you tell them how much.
But if you put 10 and 10 on a sub bid, you're losing money.
Yep.
You're only making 16% gross, which is a 0% at the end of the day. You're not making any profit on a sub if you're only marking it up 10 and 10. I mean, I've seen anywhere from 1.6 to 1.8 factoring on sub work and materials. But we're the only industry that doesn't recognize that. All the other contractors in the world, they just do it. They just do it.
I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, I'm in construction groups on Facebook that they are not restoration companies. They are not insurance work. They're just normal general contractors. Not a single one of them will use Xactimate to budget their jobs. They come up with their own pricing for the work. We like using Xactimate because it's easy. And
we're lazy. Yeah.
I mean, it's easy because we have a high turnover rate. Most general contractors are, family owned, operating and stuff. They got long-term people there for the most part, but the restoration does have a high turnover rate. It's probably because we work people to death because of our emergency situations,
and we don't pay them well.
And we can't pay them well. But I mean, we use Xactimate for the ease of getting the files moving forward. But it is complete. I mean, literally, you can go through that entire program and you can make every single line item $100 and say that's my prices. I mean, you'll get massive kickback, obviously, but the program is simply designed to help you. It's your choice to use default price list, to use a factored price list. I mean, I'm one of the few people you'll meet that probably will charge stuff and make the price go down, like plumbing caps and plumbing plugs. My water techs do it. I don't use the plumbing labor. I use the CLNR. The price goes down to about half. But that's fair because I'm showing integrity across the board that I'm properly documenting my trades.
Yeah.
And it helps justify my estimates,
Yeah.
You don't just change stuff to get more money.
Okay.
As long as you're showing it truthfully.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We do need to be able to, if we're going, that sword cuts both ways for sure. And if we're going to try to push one way, we have to give concessions. A plumber, we didn't call a plumber out to cap that. My guy had some caps. We give him caps and they put the cap on. It wasn't plumber labor. It was WTR or CLN labor. I like that.
It's just like, I mean, roofing. I know everyone always talks about the roofing and making the demo RG. If I'm just roofing a little dog house or like a little 6-foot pole barn, a little 6-inch barn out in the backyard, I don't have to hire a roofing crew to do that. Anybody can put that roof on because it's not a livable structure. I'll drop it down to general labor usually and stuff because I don't need as much. I can just send out, so-and-so that a carpenter or whatever and stuff like you.
I don't estimate a lot of dog houses.
Out here, people love their dogs, and I've seen some dog houses that look like little mini houses, and they got beds in them. I know one lady that actually has a TV in her dog's house outside, so the dog, when he's outside and gets tired, he can go in and watch TV.
Get out of here!
Swear to God.
Wow.
But I mean,
right.
It's showing it. Just if you guys can show integrity and stand your ground, you will win.
Yes, 100%. All right. On that note, we're 13 minutes over the hour. This has been good. It's been good. Joe, if you would do us all a favor and link up the white papers that you have and shoot them into the group. I'll do the same on my end. And I'm pretty sure the RIA white papers, I don't want to step on any toes, so I'm not going to link those up, but I'm pretty sure they're free. I don't think you have to be an RIA member to get a hold of those white papers because they were done for the industry at large. But you do have to register with RIA in order to download them. So I'm going to make you do that. I'm not going to I'm not going to try to steal them and link them up for you. So go to it's restorationindustry.org to get those white papers or the position statements. They're good. They're gold. Like I said, I'm going to put them. I put them on every single estimate I write. Whether or not my clients decide to send those on is up to them. But I don't run their businesses either. So this has been great, Joe. As always, great to see you. Eli, good to see you, man. Good luck going
For
forward.
having me.
Yeah,
Nice.
and
See you next week.
hopefully you're getting huge value out of the group.
I am.
We like new
On the
guys.
first day that I started. Even before I started, I spent some time, texted with Joe a little bit. Don't know if you remember.
Yeah, it's good, and I'm looking forward to your success story next year
Thank you.
and years coming in, and the next hurricane that comes down to your place. I'm sure to be there, so you're gonna have to buy me lunch.
For sure. I'm gonna give you the budget of like 2-3 clicks. I'm gonna for our meeting.
I love it. I love it. All right, see you guys. Be
Awesome.
good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.